Join Oxymoron, a contradiction-obsessed super-criminal psychopath, as he sets out on a blood-soaked adventure through time, determined to wrong the greatest rights of history. Escorted by Ananke, a tiny, foul-mouthed chrono fairy, our antisocial anti-hero targets history's biggest hypocrites. But when history fights back and his deliciously tasteless plans go awry, Oxymoron may find himself out of time permanently. Oxymoron Killing Time, a deluxe, oversized hardcover anthology.
Oxymoron is back! Hey, I'm Tyler James, publisher of ComixTribe, and I'm so excited to launch the long-awaited follow-up to our very first Kickstarter project ever.
Oxymoron Killing Time is a blood-soaked, subversive romp through time and space that sees our anti-hero go after the biggest hypocrites in all of history. Featuring the talents of over 40 amazing creators and an epic project a decade in the making, this oversized hardcover anthology collection will appeal to fans of great villains with an ethos like the Joker, Venom, or Dexter, history buffs who love a good counterfactual, and fans of twisted time travel tales. Over the past decade, I've had the pleasure to publish some of your favorite Kickstarter-funded books, including Sync, Wailing Blade, A Fistful of Pain, Happy Hill, Epic, The Red 10, and more. But now we're returning to the character who started it all for his biggest, bloodiest adventure yet. Oxymoron Killing Time is available in an oversized, premium hardcover format that will pair perfectly with the original Oxymoron Volume 1 hardcover, which is also available during this launch. Any book can be upgraded to the signed bundle, which includes a hand-numbered art plate signed by editor Tyler James, plus a campaign-exclusive metal bookmark. But that's not all. Also available as an add-on during this launch is Controlled Chaos, a campaign-exclusive limited edition process scene curated by Tyler James, which is a 24-page staple-bound companion book providing insight into the creative evolution of this project. While Oxymoron Killing Time is a self-contained volume and is new reader-friendly, for readers just discovering Oxymoron for the first time, we have catch-up tiers featuring every book he's appeared in, including The Loveliest Nightmare miniseries and both volumes of The Red 10. Since the first Oxymoron launch, ComixTribe has funded and delivered 35 successful Kickstarter campaigns, so you can back with confidence when you select one of our amazing rewards. The story is 100% complete and ready to print, so once this project funds, we'll fire up the presses so we can get it into your hands as soon as possible. Your support will help us continue to make more great comics. This book is a long time coming, so I'm thrilled to finally get it into the hands of longtime fans as well as new backers.
So if you're a fan of good villains, ahistorical history, and cohesive anthologies, Oxymoron Killing Time is the hardcover for you. Please select a reward and back this project today.
Hey, everybody. Tyler James from ComixTribe here, and I'm just having that embarrassing moment where you realize the same shirt I was wearing in the video of the Kickstarter video, I am wearing right now. So, you know, maybe I have more than one shirt, or maybe I don't. That'll be up to you. But I'm excited for you to join me for a creator live stream. I am joined by a number of contributing creators to this project, and I'm excited to hang out with y'all for the next hour. So just to do a little table setting during this stream, you're going to get a chance to meet some of the creators of Oxymoron Killing Time, the new anthology project from ComixTribe. We're going to celebrate and shout out some of our amazing 300, and I think it's now over 340 backers who have helped us fund the book so far and have already helped us unlock a bunch of stretch goals. The book has already been enhanced at least once, and we've got another great stretch goal enhancement that we are closing in on. We asked our backers to submit some questions earlier in the broadcast, and we're going to answer some of those while we're here. And I'm also going to use this time to give out some bonus prizes. If you have not yet backed the project, now's a great time to do it. In fact, now's the best time to do it because
midnight tonight, the prices are going up on every pledge level. We like to reward our VIPs, our returning backers, etc., with a little bit of a discount at the very beginning of the campaigns, but that early backer window is expiring tonight at midnight. So if you go over to comicstribe.com/killing time, you'll be able to get in there before that happens. And then also, I just want to encourage everybody that if you want to potentially be in on one of the bonuses that we may give out during this broadcast, it helps to be a backer. So definitely do that. And yeah, that's the early backer discount is coming, is ending soon. About less than 4 hours to go to grab that. So please don't pay more for comics. You can spread your wealth if you save money by backing early. All right. Just in terms of introductions, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'm going to introduce let the folks that are tuning in here with me introduce themselves. But if you're new to me, I'm Tyler James. I'm the publisher of ComixTribe. I'm also the project manager and the editor of OXYMORON Killing Time. I'm also a contributor. I wrote a couple of the stories. I wrote the prologue, the epilogue, and a key interstitial scene. And then I even drew a story in the book. So yeah, this is something that I've been working on for a long time. Many of these creators were recruited years ago, some more recently as we decided to expand it a little bit. And so CC is one of the late additions, but I was great to have her in here. And so I'm excited for you guys to get to know everybody that's tuning in with me. But yeah, excited to rock it around. So yeah, Mr. Joe Schmalke, can you introduce yourself for the fine folks that don't know you and your work?
Yeah, I'm Joseph Schmalke. I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I got involved with this project. Oh man, I think you approached me at Granite State Comic Con about like a decade ago.
It's been a long, it's been a long time since I
to
been to
do
Granite,
it. And at the time, I was doing like a completely different book at the time called Infernal Pact, which was all done on this the scratchboard technique. So I thought that was the only book I ever did on it, but OXYMORON Killing Time is the other book that I did with this technique. So it's unique. I'm happy to see it actually come to print for the first time. I am also a publisher. Me and my wife launched Midnight Factory in June, and our first book is in previews now. And I have a Kickstarter running as well for 7 Years in Darkness on Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I'm gonna pull that up. I've said this many places, but this book is like one of those, you know, as when I put on my publisher hat, you know, I'm obviously, you know, above just like, is it a good story? Is it a good book? There's also just that, like, I can often fall in love with like a book that is like, oh, that is going to be awesome and fun and an easy pitch to get the people that have like never heard of it walking by at a con to actually, you know, be like, oh, I have to get this book. And this is one of those books, like the best pitches that I've heard in a decade. Now here I am gassing you up to give the pitch, Joe. But for people that haven't checked out 7 Years in Darkness yet, lay it on them. What are they in for?
So I think doing the elevator pitch is super important. So here we go. A group of children are conscripted to the Academy of Black Magic for 7 years, and while 72 walk in, only 7 can walk out alive. That's your pitch. It's a coming of age story with black magic and high stakes, and it's a 7-year long project. So I put out 4 issues every year for the next 7 years, and this collects all of year 1. So I'm like booked for the next 5 years because I've already produced years 1 and 2 at this point.
Yeah,
working on year 3 right now. It's all been outlined though. You know, if you're doing something of this magnitude, you want to make sure that like you know how it ends and you've got your beats laid out for you ahead of time.
Absolutely. And the other thing the other thing I loved about just this
the 7 Years in Darkness pitch is that, you know, Joe is a father, and this is sort of corresponding with the ages of the kids are kind of and the timing that you're working on are corresponding roughly with your child, right? So
if you hear things in the background, that's who it's corresponding to. Yeah, my daughters grow with the book.
yeah.
So and each one of them has contributed just through talking to them and everything like that. It's an organic thing. Like, I know how it ends. I know there are certain characters that have storylines, but things can alter based on these, you know, my daughters growing up and telling me stories. And I'm like, yeah, that's what kids are doing at that age.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great project to work on. It's personal. And originally this was being published by Comics Experience Publishing. I have the rights back to it now. Everything that I work on that's creator owned is now under this Midnight Factory brand. So
Nice.
yeah,
and just something that Joe and I worked out today. If you haven't checked out 7 Years in Darkness, Oxymoron backers, we're going to start. We haven't really announced it yet, but I guess I'll just tease it now for Oxymoron backers. But every day for for our second week, which begins tomorrow, we're going to hook you up with a free book, a free digital book, a download, a #1 from one of the creators that is involved in the anthology project. And so one of the days will be the first issue of 7 Years in Darkness. So we're going to encourage you to check that out. You're going to love it, and then you're going to want to go grab that year 1 trade, or vice versa. Just trust me, grab the book.
You're going to want to pick up Killing Time, because I got to draw Hitler getting mutilated. That's why you want to get Killing Time. All right?
Absolutely, yeah.
The solution is like so that's the short story I worked on in this anthology series, and yeah, I don't think I hold back really on it. I can't remember though, because I don't know. I can't find the pages anymore.
Yeah, well, and the one of the co-writers of that story is actually here as well. Hey, Phil, come up, say hey to Joe, and introduce yourself.
Phil,
hi
what's
everyone.
up, man?
Hi, Joe. Joe, I don't think we've ever met. I think I talked to you through Travis's Level Up podcast once.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Thank you so much for being the artist on this. I sort of remember it. It's been 12 years.
I think you reached out
and like 100 anthologies.
Yeah.
After I did it, you're like, I got home from Thanksgiving and I saw your pages. It made me really happy. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
I've seen the
you
pages
wrote a
once.
Script where we torture Hitler, and I was like, yeah, we do.
Yeah,
torture.
there's that's the Fuhrer taking a sledgehammer to the face. So
yeah, the original title was the 3 S's: shit, shave, and shower. And my co-writer was like, that can't be the name. I was like, come on, man. He's like, no, that can't be the name. And at the time we were waiters at Ruby Tuesdays right after college. Couldn't find anything. And I pitched in this story, and we're like, this is it. This is how we're going to break into comics. Well, it was the path. It just, there was a little pause for a few years for this story to come out. But this is our original, first ever accepted anthology pitch.
And Tyler provided me with if it had come out right away, it would have been my first published thing.
It's crazy. Yeah. So you guys see, this is the genius of the publishing. You bank it, then you let these guys go out, build a big name for them, build an audience, and then years later, now it's time to drop it while it's hot, right?
Again, I'm happy that it's finally getting out.
My mastermind.
If you haven't read Oxymoron, any of the other stuff, you want to check it out. He's devious. He's fun to draw. I don't know what else to say about it. It's a fun character to play with.
Absolutely. And so we're also joined by Cece Affini. Cece, can you just say hello and tell people a little bit about you and what you do?
Hello. I am the writer and creator of a fantasy comic, Mythfall. We kickstarted the first issue last year in spring. And I am 1/4 of the creative team of publisher Addict or Media.
Absolutely. And so Cece, so the interesting thing about this project is the bulk of it, about 70% of it, was kind of finished a long time ago. But there were, just a number of projects that were sort of stalled or in different phases, or had never actually been touched. And I had this one scene, this one short key sequence in the book that I originally was going to do myself, and I've been procrastinating to get around it. And I just had nothing, like it's just like one of those things where backburnered and never got to. And then after reading Mythfall and just getting to know Cece and her work and her passion for world building and other things, I thought, like, rather than me sort of just like grit my teeth and get through it, let's see what Cece might bring to this. So added a lot of depth to a character that was created specifically for this anthology. And so but I don't know, anything jump to mind about your story, Homecoming, Cece?
I can only guess that after reading the first couple pages of Mythfall, you're like, this is the right person to blow something up catastrophically. I need like wide scale destruction with a little whimsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we got.
Yeah. It's the world building and the type of we got like my favorite stuff in there, which is like kind of galaxy print and like cataclysmic disasters and bad jokes.
Yeah, so you checked all those boxes, and just brilliantly drawn by Peter Taylor, and I'm excited for people to really dive into that one. And then last but not least, we're also joined by the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. Dirk Manning is here. What's up, Dirk?
What's going on, buddy? Yeah, I'm not trying to be rude, but whenever I have a Kickstarter funded, I do a live stream and I celebrate with ice cream. So this is what's left of my celebratory ice cream for congratulations on Oxymoron Killing Time being funded. I've been trying to nurse it as we've been getting through everybody, but
awesome. Well, it's
this is like everybody else said, this is pretty wild, man, because I had to look back at the date on the script when I wrote it, which was 2014. So it was, I think it's great. There's no shame in that.
Yeah.
But I wrote Inside Out for this anthology 10 years ago. And I am currently I'm about to enter, I think, my 22nd year as a published comic book writer, which I think explains the gray here. But writer on books such as Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Twisted Haunted Highons, Hope, The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Friends, Special Projects Manager with Source Point Press. And just really excited that this anthology is coming out. I totally get it, and I totally understand. You were hinting at this earlier about how sometimes the process lends itself in a way that you have to wait for the right time for the right book to come out.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited this is finally coming out and to be part of this project. To kind of go back and look at the script again, like, oh yeah, man, right on.
That was one of the fun things about just waking it back up is I put it out, and a number of writers like yourself are like, let me just take another fresh look at this, so that
right. Back then, having Cthulhu in a script was probably a little more novel than it was now. Now it's like I can buy Cthulhu slippers. Right?
Yeah.
But back then, it was a much different world, but still. It was so cool to get to see the art and the story and stuff like that, and see the story done.
Yep. Shout out Dylan Andrews, who just took the ball and run with it. And Dylan's one of those guys that just kind of I've met. I think another one met at conventions, and just like guy just loves to draw. He's like And one thing, like yours was for a section of the book where there's a lot of like quick jumps to
Right.
different like sort of twisted funhouse mirror style, like multiverse, like the time stream is amok, the chrono magic has gone batty. And so you wrote just a couple pages, but of course Dylan's like, yeah, here's an extra picture, here's an extra splash page of Cthulhu just in case you need it or want it, because I wanted to draw Cthulhu.
Right.
Well, now I guess given his preeminence on Kickstarter and everything, I guess Cthulhu will get a splash page in Oxymoron's book, much to his chagrin.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because it's so funny, because at the time I think I was probably most known for Nightmare World, which is anthology of 8-page stories. So when you reached out and said, I want you to do a 2-page story, I'm like, oh, right, because I'm the short story guy, right? And 8 pages, it's like, oh, I can do it, no problem. And, it's always harder to write a complete shorter story, right, than a long, a longer story. So when you messaged me, when you got a hold of me, like, I want to do a 2-page story for this, and you explained to me the premise that, things are going faster and faster. I'm like, okay, no problem. I was excited to work with you. And I'm like, I got to do a 2-page story. I'm like, oh, I got it. And then, of course, to tie in the idea of an oxymoron, and the story called Inside Out, so it was a fun challenge. But then when I got to see the art and saw that 3rd page in there, I'm like, did I write that as 3 pages? So I went back and
I was like, no,
I see what he did. He wanted the big shot, right? He wanted the big shot with Cthulhu.
Yeah, he was probably like, I could sell this at a show,
right?
let me throw in the splash page.
If I know it's for sale now, we might be talking sooner than you think. So,
absolutely. So what I want to do, just for folks that are tuning in, maybe haven't had a chance to jump over the Kickstarter, so I'm just going to play the 40-second teaser trailer if you haven't seen it yet, and then we're going to get into some other cool stuff, including a giveaway. But let me just drop the teaser trailer, 45 seconds, just in case, so you know what the book we're talking about is all about here.
Join Oxymoron, a contradiction-obsessed supercriminal psychopath, as he sets out on a blood-soaked adventure through time, determined to wrong the greatest rights of history. Escorted by Ananke, a tiny foul-mouthed chrono fairy, our antisocial anti-hero targets history's biggest hypocrites. But when history fights back and his deliciously tasteless plans go awry, Oxymoron may find himself out of time, permanently. Oxymoron Killing Time, a deluxe, oversized hardcover anthology featuring the talents of over 40 amazing creators and an epic project a decade in the making. This oversized hardcover anthology collection will appeal to fans of great villains with an ethos like the Joker, Venom, or Dexter, history buffs who love a good counterfactual, and fans of twisted time travel tales.
All right, so that's Oxymoron Killing Time. It's on Kickstarter right now, comicstribe.com/killing time. And to kill a little time before we get into questions, I am going to start by giving away a t-shirt. Now, this is the last of the original run of t-shirts that I found in my storage locker. And what I'm going to do with this one, because I just have it in XL, to get this t-shirt, leave a comment either on YouTube or Facebook right now saying, I'll take an XL. As long as you are a backer of any pledge of any dollar amount, and you're the first person to get in a request for this t-shirt, I'll take an XL. You, my friend, will get that t-shirt. So just leave a comment if you're watching the video. If you want the XL, looks like it was Christopher Pine or George Henderson Jr. that got in. I think it was Christopher Pine that got in first on mine. So Chris, you're getting this one, but everybody else, do not worry. There's more giveaways to go down. But what I want to do now is to just take a look at some stats. So this is always curious, and I know we've got a lot of Kickstarter creators in here. I checked this morning. And right now, our returning backer rate is about 62%. So the overwhelming majority of people, 239 backers, are returning backers. And I'm already seeing a bunch of names that I've seen, support us campaign after campaign after campaign, which is always great to see. But then also, like, hey, we've got 100 brand new first-time backers that are either discovered us just on Kickstarter on a whim, clicked on an ad, got recommended from creators cross-promoting, or who knows how you found out. So if you are a new backer and you're tuning into the stream or you catch the replay, just love to hear, what got you to make this I think this is like the 36th Kickstarter that I've run personally. So I'm just curious what made you jump in on this one in particular. If you got to shout out a creator, if you got to shout out somebody that turned you on to the book, just love to hear what brought you to us. That definitely helps. All right, I want to answer some backer questions and talk about some stuff. So this first question came from Super Backer GC, who asked, what inspired the creation of Oxymoron? And so, obviously I'm going to take this one. And the Oxymoron was a character that I created in 2010 on day 28 of the 30 characters challenge, which was a 30-day challenge, like creative challenge that I created it to get myself out of a creative rut. I was actually, at the time, I was teaching some middle school kids comics, and at the same time I was like slogging through like a book that I had been working on and focused on, just this one little book. And it was kind of like in the the middle part where things kind of get tough and you're kind of sick of it and you wish you were working on anything else. And I was sort of jealous of these kids that were just pumping in, cranking out new characters or coming up with new ideas, and it was just like, oh man, like I want a little bit of that. And so I created a challenge for myself to create a new character for every day of the month for 30 days. And I did it sort of on my blog publicly, and also just put out, hey, anybody else wants to do this, it could be fun. Fast forward a couple of years, and we had over 1,000 people like enter this online challenge, and I created a website, and everybody's posting to this site and everything. And so on day 28, I created this character. I came with the idea for the Oxymoron because I had this idea for a story I wanted to do that was like Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians meets the Justice League, and I needed a villain character for it. And so he was sort of originally conceived like what I wrote, like, and it was just a couple things. He said the Oxymoron is the world's most notorious psychopath and super criminal mastermind. He's the arch nemesis of another one of the characters that I created. And sort of said equal parts the Joker and the Riddler, insanely smart and obsessed with red. So definitely, the Red 10 was the book that he first appeared in, which again is that sort of superhero murder mystery where a team is murdered. It seems like at least at first that the Oxymoron is taking them all out, but that may or may not be the case. And yeah, so he was needed as a character piece and as a chief foil for my book, The Red 10. What I was unprepared for, though, was like when we went to comic book conventions or we were sketching or doing sketch covers, like, and I just had like the first issue of the Red 10, but any sketch cover with him drawn on it was immediately snatched up. And for people that have read the Red 10, one of the big aha surprises, or is it, that Oxymoron is found dead at the end of the first issue. And I remember a retailer being like, you got to bring that guy back the next issue. He's like, I'm not gonna be able to sell this book without this character in it. He's like, don't be stupid. And that was really where I was like, okay, this guy needs his own space to play. But I was also, working a 9-to-5, trying to write 2 or 3 books at that same time.
I knew I didn't have like an oxymoron mini series in me at that time. But I was like, I bet you all these great creators that I have been meeting at these conventions and doing things, this might be a sandbox with this character, a contradiction obsessed killer like that a lot of creators would like to play in. And that really led to the first Oxymoron anthology, and then we built from there. So that's the backstory of those. But I don't know, it's always fun to go back and look at the germ of the idea and then what ended up coming for it. I don't know. Are you guys pack rats with your stuff? Do you hang on to like every note and scrap and sketch, or is it all like lost in the ether?
I've had this idea to take a photograph of myself next to every stacked of piece of paper that eventually became Mythfall, because I'm not that tall, but I feel like the stack might be.
That would be fun, or just like every year as it gets bigger.
No, totally, man. You know, it's interesting as you're talking about this. My last 2 Kickstarters for Homestead and then a re-release of Love Stories About Death were both actually older projects that Homestead I'd been sitting on for probably about 15 years. And then Love Stories About Death was a re-release and expansion of an earlier book I did that was out of print. But it's always new to someone who's never seen it before, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I even right now, like, there's tons of Post-it notes on my desk in front of me right now about like different snippets of things of like for the next couple of years of books I'm doing and stuff like that. So I'm big on don't throw away those ideas. Just wait for the right time for them to percolate. Wait for that cupcake to get done cooking, or get done baking, and then you can make the graphic novel as it was meant to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the project I did after college was called One Last Trick, and it was a short 8-page story. I posted it online. I kind of forgot about it for a bit, but I had the pages, and now it's a full-fledged 5-issue series I'm putting out with J.K. Woodward. So, yeah, it's like 24 years old at this point, if not more. So yeah, hold on to everything. I still have a trunk in my basement that has all my high school writings. I go through it sometimes. There's some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But
It helps remind you how far you've come.
you know,
when you get that lightning in a bottle moment, right? You're like, man, that was good, and I just got to figure out the right way to execute it, right?
most of these musicians and stuff that, well, I'm an older guy, right? So it's not like ancient or something, but in the 90s, it was all these like 20, 30-year-old guys were the rock stars at the time, right? And their lyrics were coming out, and you're kind of riffing on that. Sometimes it's motivating you. They're kids compared to what I am now, right? But like my thoughts back then were no less valid. So holding on to all of that stuff is good. I can basically create my own product from now until I'm like dead. You know, I don't have to like riff on anybody else's stuff. I don't have to work on Spider-Man or any of the major companies' books, because I have so much content that I could put out again until I die. So
yeah, it's pretty.
It's a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah, no shortage of ideas. It's just it's time is the one constraint there.
And being a control freak, you know, I want to write and draw everything, and my wife is very patient with me, but she has convinced me to work with other people. So
yeah,
now I work with artists, and I do also draw for other writers. So it's all of these things come with their own challenges.
Absolutely. So this question came from Elise Feldman, and this is I think this is a challenge that like the benefit of Kickstarter, as we talked about, is those return backers. But sometimes the challenge is like
people love jumping in on the ground floor or don't want to be lost when they jump into a new series or take a chance on a new thing. And so the question that that Elisa asked is, can a newbie jump on board the story with just killing time? And so the good news is absolutely. This is a standalone story. I said, it's a cohesive anthology. One of the things that I don't one of the things that I don't always love about anthology is that they can kind of jump all over the place, and you might like some stories or might not like others, but at the end they just kind of end. What I really wanted to do with this one was actually, be a little bit of a control freak about the structure of where it starts and where it ends, but then let the creators run wild and take the middle sections in different directions with a little bit of guidance about, all right, here's a key pivot point where everything changes, and then here's where we have to get to. But so what I'm excited is that, like, when it's all pieced together, it feels like a cohesive anthology, but you don't need to have read anything else. There's the occasional Easter egg or the occasional thing that might refer to another event or something that happened, where if you've read the entire ComixTribe library, there will be some good stuff. But for the most part, if you like anti-heroes, your Jokers, your Venoms, your Deadpools, if you have a little bit of a history bug, or you like thinking about, well, what if, or you also sort of dig time travel stories, this is going to be a book that you're going to like. But just to be clear, if you are a completist, I know, when I find something that I do like, well, I'm going to end up eventually getting around to watching all of it and reading all of it. And so this is the sort of every book that the Oxymoron as a character has appeared in. On the left is the first anthology, which is about 13 stories. And that was just kind of also standalone. Each of those stories kind of would stand alone and be easily read. Then there's the Red 10, which was the first appearance of Oxymoron, and he's sort of the villain or a side character in that runs through the entire background of the whole series. But the Red 10 is its own sort of two volume superhero maxi series, 10-issue maxi series, and so that's collected. And then the Oxymoron Loveliest Nightmare is a self-contained mini series, kind of like akin to like a Joker Year Zero story. Like sort of like imagine Batman, or imagine a Gotham City without Batman. How much damage could a psychopath killer obsessed with contradiction do in a city without any superheroes to stop him? Just a afflicted police officer determined to stop our city from burning. Really great story. It was the first miniseries that John Lees and Alex Cormack did. I co-wrote it with John. John did the heavy load on the scripting, but I worked with John on the story, and then Alex Cormack drew that, and they've gone on to have tremendous success with Sync and a number of other collaborations. So yeah, that's if you want to get everything, we've got everything for you over on the Kickstarter. So this one came from Kyle Jackson, who asked, "Can you add a couple T-shirt designs as add-ons?" Your wish is my command, Kyle. Just today, we passed the 21,500 milestone, which would unlock T-shirts, and right now we have 3 designs. We've got a Scarface design by Joe Mulvey. We've got the Oxymoron icon design, and then we've got the cover image design by Jonathan Rector for Killing Time. So the way we do our T-shirts is they're $35, but that includes free worldwide shipping. We print these separately from the comics, usually in advance. So these will probably ship out in November, or even earlier, depending on
backer kit surveys coming in. And yeah, and you'll be able to rock these when you get the book. So those are up. All right. So this is a question that came in. They said, how do you choose the different artists to make sure they will keep the spirit of the characters, even when their styles are so different? And so, you know, this is kind of an interesting question for anybody that's run anthologies before. And I guess before I share my thoughts on this, like, if you were running an anthology, and I'll start with Phil, since he's kind of like the anthology king, how important would it be to like make sure the artists stay like in line with the characters, or would you not be so concerned with that?
So there has to be a little concern, because even though you have different writers and artists, there needs to be something has to be there has to be some kind of continuation of either the art or the voice of the character, because that if say a reader reads the first story, loves it, second story, it's okay, not as good as the first story, or something's different, drastically different about that second story. If you lose that completely in the third story, you lose the reader. So I think it's really important that something stays consistent from each story.
Yeah.
So you don't lose the reader. That's really important, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, Dirk, I mean, you've had some experience like working for anthologies. Like how important is like getting that character sheet to or the rules, or do you find yourself bristling against it sometimes?
To me, the biggest thing is finding the right artist for the right tone of the story you want to do. You know, I think Phil's exactly right. That through line is very important. You don't want to confuse people. So if I want, you know, like when I did Nightmare World, it literally just was a fluke. It's sitting right here. But there's Nightmare World anthologies, 52 different short stories, right? Each written by me and drawn by a different artist or art team. There are certain characters in the book that appear in various stories. So you do want to make sure that as a reader is reading this, they say, oh, wait a minute, that character, you know, oh, that was a character in that story over there, or what have you. So I think that's really crucial. But to me, the bigger factor is the right artist for the right tone of the right story, right? Yeah. You know, there's artists who approached me back in the Nightmare World days about working with me, some amazing artists. And I said, well, okay, I just got to find the right story that's going to match the style of what you're doing. And that never worked out. And that's why Francesco Francavilla and I never did Nightmare World story, right? It's like, he's amazing, right? I could have given him anything, but it's like, I want to find something that's going to best suit your style. Conversely, there's stories I've sat on for years because I couldn't find the right artist for it. So yeah, doing the anthology, like I said, it's important that people know when those puzzle pieces connect. Yeah. But to me, the most important thing is being aware of the style of the art, conveying the tone you want to do, even if you're blatantly juxtaposing it, right? Even if you're doing a really horrific story with a cartoony style of art, or vice versa. CC, I know, I think, you know, I mean, like we were talking before we went on the air about, you know, your art, you know, like very cute art for very horrific events, and sometimes that's really fun to do. So to me, that's the biggest piece.
Yeah, I think good points there. You know, for me, it's kind of funny with the artists. I was pretty much, I'm not really going to worry too much about it, because one of the things that I actually loved so much about the first anthology is that, like, the oxymoron design, so simple, you know, like just like couldn't be simpler, stark white, the smile, the suit, and yet every single artist would put their own interesting, unique spin on it. And it was almost like, because the design was so just simple, that the different artists' flavors would come out, and seeing which elements they would emphasize to put their own spin on the character was really cool for me. So I really enjoyed that. On the writing side, there were some things with, like, voice and maybe word choice and wanting to just keep from story to story to story to consistent, like, and it's little things like when they use contractions or when they don't, or when they use 10 words when one would do. And oftentimes he would be a character that might use more words than needed to do that. But trying to just make sure that the voice was consistent, especially because there wasn't, like, this isn't Marvel and DC where there's a whole backlog that we can just say, oh, well, there's 30 years of this character, so we can build on that. So that was something that, like, occasionally I would, have a little bit more back and forth with the writers, just on a, well, let's
from an artist
this or that.
perspective, you had
Yeah.
a character that you could riff on, right?
Yeah.
So the character design was appealing, and
Yeah.
that's really what all the artists need to, even with the fairy, right?
Yeah.
You passed out design sheets, and I think that's important for all writers. Sometimes you so Dirk's done a ton of anthologies. I'm sure you do a character sheet. This is what the guy looks like. You have to hit this at least
Right.
every time you're drawing him or her, when you're doing it. And that way the artist can go wild with it. They can do it all in their own style, but there are certain aspects of it that have to be right. So
yeah.
that's
and
anthology.
Yeah, providing those model sheets, providing things, but then also being okay, like, so, like, just so the people can get a sense of, like, how different artists would tackle it. So this is Alex Cormack, who was, he's drawn more panels and stories with Oxymoron in it than anyone at this point. But he kicked off the anthology, and so that was great to just have a nice prologue from Alex to kick this off. But you'll see, like, this is Will Robson. You can see he sort of a little bit more cartoony, but employing more of some cross hatching and some details. Details about, like, the mask and the eyes and the smile and the teeth. Like, everybody takes it a little bit differently. Rafer Roberts puts little stitching on here and makes it, does a different kind of mask style. But it's like, all right, yep, that works for him. This is more of a sort of cell shaded animation style from Adam Masterman, which is just, and seeing these after another, especially as they're, like, jumping into different time periods, with different ones making more sense than others, is a lot of fun. And then when you're seeing, like, different styles of artists, Robert Villacava did this pinup, and he's more of a painterly, like, true style. Here's that Joe Mulvey Scarface homage, which again has elements. Here's Joshua Janes, and so different. It's just fun to see different creators take a crack at your character. Like, there's nothing better than that. From when you come up with a concept and then just have a lot of people playing in the sandbox, and then it's fun when the fans get in. So this is Daniel Turnage. He's been a longtime comics fan. He makes, like, little custom toys where he will take.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that an action figure? Because it looks like an action figure.
Yeah, as an action figure that he, like, repurposed and painted and did himself, which was pretty cool. Mulvey made some Oxymoron. We sold these at Baltimore and New York Comic Con a while back. Those Moonies or Monies or something like that. They're pretty cool. And then this was a fan made his own Oxymoron mask. That's was
terrifying.
Just, yeah. I think walking around conventions like that, man, pretty freaking awesome. But it, like, something about making a character that is cosplayable is also another really great, I think, key to longevity and success for the character. So Brad said, is there a peak to the maniacal craziness of Oxymoron, or does the limit not exist? It's a good question. I think, Phil, you and Joe, your story may have pushed the envelope in terms of maniacal diabolicalness, in terms of, the damage, but he also,
was taking out the biggest genocidal maniac of the 20th century. So I guess it was just desserts there.
The one thing I am proud of that story is, so that story, I want to say I pitched it after there was a Kickstarter. So me and my buddy, we pledged at a certain tier, and then we got the opportunity to pitch to you. So I don't remember which Kickstarter that was that we pledged to. But we pledged to it, and then we pitched a story, and then I want to say like 5 or 6 years later, Grant Morrison came up with the same concept. Instead, he had someone kill Hitler directly in a bathroom stall. But I technically killed Hitler first in the bathroom before Grant Morrison did. So I just want that out there.
All right, yeah. So
I want that out there.
We're gonna date it. I have timestamps on those scripts.
Yeah. For the record, I beat the wizard Grant Morrison, killing Hitler.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to like writing the psychopath, writing the villain, you know, and like it is a challenge because like in order for them to be interesting, you can't you can't hate them or you actually, no, you can hate them, but you can't, but you want to keep watching. Like that's one of the challenges here. And so like finding someone that
rooting
that
for
when
them
they
on some level.
Yeah, you're rooting for them, or you are like, or the situation is like almost like a car wreck where you can't look away, even if you know you should. And so it's been interesting to see how different writers and artists tackle that kind of character. And you know, the Oxymoron, the Loveliest Nightmare series was, you know, what John, like when we talked about that, and is like, all right, you know, we're not going to overplay it. We're almost going to treat him a little bit like Jaws in the movie Jaws, or at least the first one, where you know, lurking in the background, out there, but when he strikes, that's when, you know, it will have the maximum impact, but not necessarily be in your face all the time. But I also like with this particular story, you know, he is the protagonist, no question about it. And so that's where, like, all right, having him up against, you know, really vile people throughout history, or just situations that like, he's got a whacked ethos of like, how is this, or you'll be reading it, he's like, all right, where is the contradiction, where is the hypocrite here, or what is he actually, what's his problem, why did this particular time and target make his list? But one of the cool things about going through the pitches and making this book is just like, I learned some new stuff about history making it. I'm like, oh, I didn't know this.
And it's interesting too, because what you were just talking about, Tyler, was the fact that, you know, for my story, one of the things, because I was actually familiar with the character from the Red Ten and stuff like that, and I'm like, wow, this is like you said, this is a very bombastic villainous character, and especially knowing that I had that very small window in which to tell a full story. To me, the first thing I thought of is, well, we know there's the whole oxymoron trigger, but past that, what would upset him even more? You know, and being primarily a horror guy, to me that was like that was the crux of the story for me. What in the book was, what would repulse a repulsive person to this degree, right? So yeah, so but you're right, that's what I think adds that nuance to it. And then also you want to make sure you obviously respect the intention of the character. He's a psychopath. He's a maniac. He's doing all these ridiculous, crazy, over-the-top, horrific things. But when there's a quiet moment, like when no one else is around, what bothers him? What would be too extreme for an extreme psychopath? And that's it was a fun little experiment to write into the book.
Yeah.
While still honoring the character as intended.
As Liar says here, the villains I like the most are the ones I can understand on some level or kind of relate to. Yeah, absolutely.
I literally picked up. I got like a GI Joe classified, and it's a Cobra figure. And I was like, when I was a kid, this is the figure I identified with more than GI Joe. Yeah, villains are awesome. They get the chicks, if you're into that. So, yeah, villains are they're a funner playground to play with because they can be more complex than a hero in some ways. Bad guys don't necessarily have to, they can have their own moral code.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if anybody's checked out the new Penguin HBO. I just watched the pilot.
No, I want to watch it though.
I won't spoil it, but they do a great job of like, hey, this is a compelling character to watch. And you're not the range of what actions and what their responses to any given situation often can be much wider than your standard white hat hero, right?
The hero almost falls from grace, right? If they do anything outside of this certain scope.
Yeah.
But the villain can raise itself up, and that's always like kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah. And it's, when I think of shows that walk the line a little bit, with your classic anti-heroes like your Dexters and everything, the importance of them having an ethos, having a code, having, even if they can do that, you can tolerate them doing terrible things if you understand the code by which they are living, and you can respect the clarity by which they are living, that even if they're doing terrible stuff. It's often when they start going over the line or breaking their own codes that a lot of times those shows end up falling off.
That's where they jump the shark, or they become irredeemable or something like that. But the truth is, most of us are villains because we do horrible things in our own lives day to day that little lies, or you're covering for yourself. Being a hero is much harder, right? It's harder to level with, to be honest. So
Chris says at the beginning, you asked when we started buying ComixTribe. I picked up the Red 10 #1 off the shelf from Larry's in Lowell, Mass. back in 2011, I think. Bought everything since. See, man, that is, and shout out to Larry, the old Lowell shop. Great. I mean, I met Alex Cormick at Larry's drink and draw at Larry's that he hosted, and really super supportive of indie comics and stocking local comic shops, putting it on the shelves, and giving a lot of time to creators. So that means the world, and it's awesome to hear that, and it's fun to be doing this all these years later, man.
Where did you live? I lived in Westford when I went to high school, so Larry's was one of my shops.
So at the time, I think I was already in Newburyport, Mass. That's where I live now, but I was
because I know Cormac lived in Tingsboro, the town next to me. So interesting times.
Liar asks, if you had one to choose, what's your favorite oxymoron story? Personally, I like Selfless Man, the one with the husband. So he's talking about Selfless Man from the original Oxymoron miniseries, and this was a story that John Lees wrote and I drew. And
I think your mic is off, dude.
You got really excited and muted yourself. But the hand gestures make it all the more compelling.
I will say this.
Am I coming in now?
There you go.
This was a story that John Lees wrote. I drew, and it was the story where we all right, we need at least one of these stories in this anthology to really just define for you who this character is, what the ethos is, so that so that that all the other characters wouldn't have to like reintroduce the same character or reintroduce the things. And this was really, but definitely one of the more twisted things I did. And just for, anyone who reads that, no spoilers here, but the wife in the story, like I made my fiance at the time model for it. And, nothing good for that. And the fact that, hey, all these years later, we're still going strong. But she's like, it's a little disturbing what you're putting me through in this story. But yeah, so Selfless Man and the original Oxymoron is a good one. I think if I had to pick my favorite story, it is still Oxymoron Loveliest Nightmare, because as great as these like shorts are, the opportunity to like flesh out a character in a conflict, beginning, middle, and end across a mini series, you can't beat that. But I will also like there's a great Paul Allure story from the original Oxymoron anthology that actually inspired the protagonist that we then used in Oxymoron Loveliest Nightmare. So again, all of these different stories can kind of be read on their own, but art begets more art, story begets more story, and it's cool how like one thing connects to the next and the next. And so yeah, I'm excited to see for you all to see the new book. Let's see here. Christopher Babcock. So I had a couple questions about he said, I noticed that while Alex Cormack is present among creators, John Lees is absent. Any chance you'll find room for a friend? Yeah, like this is something that and Christopher also asked, hey, does John Lees have a story on this? The funny thing was I was working with John on like 3 other projects. So I was just like, I can't ask John for a story for this one because we were working together on these other projects because I thought this would, I figured this would have come out like long time ago. So I was going to hit John up for like an intro or a forward to it maybe. And maybe I still will. But yeah, so John Lees does not have any of the core stories in this yet. Who knows? Maybe he's got something ducked away in his back corner. But yeah, but no shade to John. I will never turn down a John Lees anything because he's one of my favorite writers out there. But yeah, just the way it worked out, he had lots of ComixTribe stuff popping at the same time, and I didn't want to overburden him. And then he also asked, any chance of a deluxe edition of the complete Red 10? Still need to read this one day. We are running low on Red 10 trades. So if it sells out completely, maybe we finally do like the oversized omnibus edition with all 10 issues, the thick one that you could, break. Maybe we do it. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to talk to Caesar, see what he thinks, see if we have any ideas for it. Yeah, but I will also say just there for Red 10 fans specifically, there might be a little something in this new book that they will be excited and cool to see. So that's just my little teaser. Yeah, start with Killing Time. And then Liar also asked, what will be next for Oxymoron? How can you top time traveling and facing iconic figures and gods? Yeah, man, that's I don't know. Maybe Dirk will tell me, or Joe, or Cece.
Don't put that juju on me.
I don't know. He's a pretty iconic character for your company and your brand and everything. I would say keep going.
Yeah.
Well, people got to read the book first, right, and see how it ends, and then perhaps that will allude to what's going to come next, or not.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about a character like this is that like the concept and the concept and the look has a bit like a visceral appeal. It's like, okay, what's this about? The concept is pretty universal and can be applied in a lot of different ways. I do ultimately want to tell more stories in the sort of in the vein of The Loveliest Nightmare, and that story had a great sort of cliffhanger ending that could open up, that was always meant to open up for more. And so yeah, there's a lot that we could do with them. We're going to wrap this. I am not going to make the mistake of announcing a new project with Oxymoron at the end of this project and then coming back 12 years from now and finally releasing it. So I won't be doing
as long as it took for this to come out, it's still cool to see it happen. And I've never seen something like this before.
2040.
That's a benefit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, if I ask, yeah. Now, I gotta like, I don't know, get on a good blood pressure medication. Make sure that I'm good. I gotta live that long, right? Buddy.
No, in all seriousness, I do want to say this, Tyler. Again, before you even brought me into this, I was a fan of the Red 10 and the other Oxymoron work. So when you're sitting here, I think it's important to validate the fact that when you're talking about how cool some of those earlier projects are, they are really good. They're really good, and people that maybe are just jumping in because any one of us are involved, those earlier Oxymoron books and then the Red 10 stuff is just primo stuff, and well worth people checking out.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, I've got we're gonna wrap this because we went a little bit over. We're gonna wrap this soon, but I've got a couple things to give away. And what I have that I'm gonna give away to a few backers now. And so if you haven't backed yet, but you want to be in the running for the last two drawings that I'm gonna do, make sure you're a backer over there, and I will be pulling that out. But what I have here is a Oxymoron ComixTribe print pack. So we've got some 11 by 17 prints of some of the better Oxymoron images that we've produced over the years. And I think there's 3 or 4 prints in these pack. I'm not even going to open it up unsealed. Each one is a little bit different. So I'm just going to be giving out a couple of these oversized print packs to some backers right now. Let me see, how am I going to do this? So the first one is going to go to backers that submitted questions for this broadcast. So we've got, again, this is, these guys were already backers, they submitted a question for this broadcast so that we had stuff to talk about. I'm going to shuffle them up a couple times, and then we're going to spin the wheel. Let's see what we got. And looks like GC. All right, so GC, you are getting a print pack. I think GC submitted the first question to get things going. So congrats to GC. And then I'm going to give away 2 more of those using my random number generator. So let me see where we're at for backers. Looks like we picked up, I think, 3 new backers while we were live here. So my total backer numbers go from 1 to 357. That's because a couple backers drop or adjust. So I'm going to use my random number generator here and pick 2 numbers, and those backer numbers are going to get it. So the first number is 201. And the second backer number is 328. All right, some recent backers. So I will have to look those up and see who actually gets those. But I will post those over on the Kickstarter for those backers. And yeah, they'll be upgraded with some cool print sets. Anything else? Last couple of things to point out about the Kickstarter. Yeah, we are closing in now, less than $1,000 to our $23,000 stretch goal. That will add room for 4 more pages. So those might be pinups, those might be other cool back matter. That, but we're going to upgrade. We'll upgrade the book, bigger book, more backing, bigger book.
John Lee. John Lee.
Maybe something from John Lee. John Lee's is always good for a short story. You know what? John Lee's. Maybe I'll make John do one for his Patreon, and then we'll reprint it in here. Good idea. So yeah, who knows? Let's get more funding going. Let's get more backers in, and we'll make that happen. Early backer pledging, early backer pricing does end tonight, though, at midnight. So definitely get it in. All of these pledge levels are going to switch over to the standard pricing. Still be discounted from what will be available after. And we do offer free US shipping on all pledges. So definitely grab that. And starting tomorrow, we will be starting our free book every day from a backer, or excuse me, from a creator. You'll be getting bonus books every day. So the hits just keep on coming. We do have some additional things we'll be adding to the campaign in the home stretch. I do have behind me some original art, and so we'll be doing an original art sale during this campaign as well. So you just want to get in and make sure that you're able to be a part of it, get the updates, and take part in the awesomeness. Joseph, where can people follow you? Where should people follow you going forward?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Schmalky. If you look at my name written here on the screen, yeah, no one else that's not related to me has that last name. So and then I'm also, I have a Kickstarter running, which you can see right there. 7 Years in Darkness. This is year one. This is the trade for year one. There's going to be 7 trades altogether, so it's a long journey. Midnight Factory Comics has its first book in previews right now. This is it. It's called We Don't Kill Spiders. It's a necromantic witch and a berserker detective hunting a serial killer during the Viking Age. And you get bonus content in the back of this. Pinup gallery. This was originally published by Scout Comics under my imprint, which was called Black Caravan, which is now defunct. But I have the rights back to this, so you'll be able to purchase the full Volume 1 trade, and Volume 2 is coming in the middle of next year. So Midnight Factory, you just look for that in your previews. We're only distributed through Diamond right now. And then finally, I do have a Patreon. It's my last name. Go on Patreon. I do a quarterly box. You get Patreon editions of 7 Years in Darkness. And right now, the exclusive TMNT line by Jason Aaron, I did variant covers for each one of those. So all my Patreon backers get a cover as they come out, So I did the first 4 issues through Wonderland Comics in Connecticut. Great guys. I got the trade versions. They got the Virgin covers. So all my Patreon backers get those.
Awesome. Yep. And I can't recommend 7 Years in Darkness higher. Grab the first trade. If I was pitching it on Joe's behalf, it'd be like, it's Hogwarts, but for dark wizards. I've heard people say it's like Harry Potter, but only Slytherin.
Yeah. But it is a coming of age story. And as the book grows, the kids become more complicated and complex, as children do as they grow into teens, and they're going to get into all sorts of interesting situations. So, yeah.
Well, I'm excited for it and happy to see it funding and picking up new backers. And Oxymoron backers will get a taste of 7 Years in Darkness.
They'll get the full first issue.
Yeah.
So if you're on the fence about backing it, you'll get it. What you said, Tuesday?
Yeah. That'll be the last one of our freebies.
So you can read it then, and then make up your mind whether or not you think it's good. I think it's awesome.
They're just going to trust me. Also in the freebie department, our good friend Dirk Manning is contributing a freebie book to the Oxymoron bundle as well. Dirk, tell us what backers are going to be getting, and then where they can find more of your stuff and what you've got coming up soon.
Yeah, given that Cthulhu is in my story and it's a much more horrific story in Oxymoron, I went the total opposite direction. And people that are in the campaign will be getting the first chapter of the Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Friends. It's actually it was the Halloween Comic Fest book of 2019 under the original title, The Adventures of Cthulhu Jr. and Dastardly Dirk. It's fun. It's funny. It may look like it's a kids-only book. It's not. It's all ages. It's really witty, really funny. Scoop McMahon, I think, is one of the best living cartoonists in the comics world right now. That's very evident in that first issue alone. So they'll be getting that. As for me, I'm across all social media at Dirk Manning. Look for the picture of the guy with the top hat and the scarf. Things I've got coming up, we'll be delivering the Homestead Kickstarter here in the next couple of weeks. Really excited about that. It's a Native American werewolf western that's available for pre-order on Amazon right now. We'll be sending out the backer kit for Love Stories About Death, which is the Kickstarter we just wrapped up. And what I'm super excited about, and I still cannot believe I'm saying this out loud, this October, we will be debuting the Ashcan preview comic of the graphic novel adaptation of the long-lost horror classic London After Midnight with Lon Chaney. For the full graphic novel, then launching on Kickstarter in conjunction with the Chaney estate. Yeah, thank you. The week of Halloween. So that'll be on Kickstarter. People will be able to check that out. Just keep their eyes peeled. London After Midnight is a movie that maybe people don't even know it by name. They'll know it by imagery. If you look up London After Midnight, you will instantly recognize Lon Chaney as the man in the beaver hat, the vampire. The opportunity to bring this long lost story to life in its definitive edition in cooperation with the Chaney Entertainment as a full graphic novel illustrated by Joshua Ross, one of my longest collaborators in this 2-decade plus journey. This is one of those things that got my folks excited, right? So to be working on this.
That's an awesome. That
yeah,
sounds
thank you. Yeah, it's what a world, man. What a world, Yeah, so that'll be coming out the week of Halloween. We got some really cool stuff lined up for that, and to be able to bring this story back to life in a definitive edition is. I'm really excited about it. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. So that's what's coming next. But people can sign up for my monthly newsletter at dirkmanning.com, or just follow me on Instagram, Facebook, God help me, even Twitter X, at Dirk Manning, Blue Sky, Threads. Just look for at Dirk Manning, and it'll keep you posted on what we got going on. Cthulhu and other ones.
Awesome, Dirk. Appreciate you. Just keep doing the good work, man. I appreciate that. And Cece, let us know where people can follow in more about you and what you've got coming out for the rest of the year, and where will you be next, convention wise? Are you done?
Where in Florida will CC be next? Yeah. So our projects that we do, so I publish with Addictor Media, and you can find our books at addictormedia.com. We've got Mythfall, which is a fantasy epic in space, and then we have Incident Report, which is a superhero slice of life comic that's underselling it a little. Sometimes we say it's what if this Mutant Registration Act went well. You can find us on social media at Addictor Media, and you can find me at Kefidi Comics, but I'm kind of a digital hermit, so at Addictor Media is usually the best way. We just put up a pre-launch page today on BackerKit for an enamel pin set that we're trying out with an Adopt a Phoenix theme. It's I don't know if I should send it, but it is like from the gaming side of what we do. We're all D&D players and tabletop nerds in addition to comic book lovers, and so this is a series of 8 pins with each one is a phoenix with a different elemental theme, and they are guarding a D20.
Nice. Yeah, it'll be fun to see how that side of the crowdfunding launch goes for you.
Yeah.
And thanks for being a part of this project and coming out tonight. I want to thank everybody
for tuning in and just sharing their some insights and just being a part of this project. You know, comics. When I think of the best part of making comics, I go back to when I was, you know, a kid, just dragging my drawing table across the street to go, you know, do a all-night draw and comic making a thon. And I think working on anthology projects like this with a bunch of creators is, you know, as close as you can get to something like that. So I appreciate that. And all you just being a part of it. And then I also want to thank all of the backers that have tuned in, watching the replay, supporting us on Kickstarter, and just making this another successful launch for the ComixTribe. We get to put another just beautiful hardcover on the shelves. And hey, you guys keep funding these things. We'll keep making them. That's our deal for all of y'all. So thank you so much. The campaign will be going until Friday, the October 11th. It'll end at midnight then. ComixTribe.com/killing time will bring you over there. It's Oxymoron Killing Time on Kickstarter. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys over on Kickstarter.
Thank you.